I would say that I discovered action painting during this process, but fine arts had always been part of my early education growing up. There was always a very quite excellent arts program in my schooling in Chicago and in Lugano, actually, at the American school at Tassis. And then, and personally, I always, as a freehand sketch artist and drawer, I like to work with pen quite a bit. Paint I found when I was 20, really, and when I was about 30, I found house paint and acrylic and large canvas and a much more physical expression, which I completely connected with as an actor in an interesting way. Having spent the better part of 10 years honing that craft and expression, and you can call it a technique, but it is primarily improvisation, born of limitation and dealing with beautiful accidents and chaos, controlled chaos. I just transferred these influences to the singular expression, which became a real antidote to art by committee, which is what cinema really is. It's art with 100 people. So painting became a nice antidote, but I applied and dragged my my acting sensibility to canvas, and it was there on Titanic, where I had 7 months in Mexico with a lot of free time to explore and create. Firstly, I'm here because of Gulla Jónsdóttir, who I've had the pleasure of collaborating with in the past, a supremely talented and lovely woman and friend. And I had presented 2 or 3 offerings that I thought would be relevant. And curiously, she picked probably the most complementary in palette and size for the lovely space, but was really the first offering, was one of my first paintings I made in 1997, which I thought was interesting, and I was happy to share. I just thought it was a unique choice and one of my favorites. It has personal meaning for me. I called it Telemundo because there was a lot of television always ever present while down there, and there was an image within the frame that looked like in a light blue, which was a color synonymous along with burnt orange in the Mexican palette, that it looked like a lot of the images were coming from it on the rest of the piece. And then the sun played a big role upon it, and the elements. It's unstretched and almost like a skin. When I would cross the border every weekend to California, on the side of the road, many curios and pieces of art, some lovely, some quite amazing and artisanal, and some absolutely ridiculous licensing knockoffs of plasterine figures from the Disney catalog. But then there were hides of cow hides and these skins that were always hanging there. So it was something about that made me want to make these almost animal-like tapestries. So I would paint and let the sun do their work upon them, which would dry them and then crack them and then also pull and create a bit of a wave. And when I first presented it, I floated the piece on 2-inch blocks within a clean stretched canvas that the framers from LACMA in LA County Museum in Los Angeles framed quite beautifully and cleanly with a 2-inch aluminum metal frame, and this floating, undulating, almost looked like a it could have been a metal shield or metal curtain of some kind, or so it had a nice effect. But here we hung it like a tapestry where tapestries once hung. So it has a nice counterpoint to all of this Baroque, beautiful inlay, this slightly mid-century in palette and expression, abex feel, works very nice and complementary, and now even more so with the lovely furniture offerings of the other artists in the collective. Like home, I've always felt kindred to the Italian national character. It's familiar to me as the Greek national character is. I've always had a very warm welcome here, be it for, even before I was recognized for some of the work that may have resonated with some people. I just think I think they thought of me as one of their own, perhaps by coloring or character. I don't know, but I'm grateful for it because I've enjoyed, and I think it inspired and informed a lot of my life choices as an artist, as a man. Certain cult of beauty and appreciation of basic, time-honored, needs, fundamental needs that I consider needs, like salt and oil and good water to swim in, and naps after lunch, and sex, and life, food. I would love to I paint outside, so it depends on the weather, of course. I'm happy to work in a studio, but I work on location out of, it started out of, again, necessity. Back to the parallel to cinema, you work from limitation, inevitably. So I, by choice, don't bring any materials with me. Because inevitably in any location you can find a hardware store, a garden center, or a marine supply. And in these places there is a limited supply of paint. I preferably try to use even the recycled paint, so I narrow the field even down more so, and it's a little ecological because normally they're going to throw these things away. So I try to do it as green as possible. And if I can't find canvas or someone who's stretching, I'll use an old piece of sail or something like a tent that's been discarded, or an umbrella that they threw away from a old beach resort because it has rust stains, which I find beautiful. And if you lay it out, suddenly the canvas is circular. Or I'll use tabletops. I did a series of tabletops. I wheeled a 12-foot banquet table from an alley in Los Angeles that someone threw away with plywood and metal. And I did a piece with, I went to Farrow and Ball and I bought a beautiful Hague blue paint. It looks like sorry, it's kind of like this, but in high gloss. It looks fabulous. And against white and black, like these three together, but that was really bright, really strong. And it looked like yin-yang or Pisces kind of field, but against the wood looked like nautical, looked like an Italian yacht from the, 50s or something. And it didn't take long to make, and someone bought it, for a lot of money. So it was garbage to gold, pretty alchemic. I love it.
Yes.
And finding, that's why Mexico is amazing because of the signage, old signs. Lobster cages would wash up from the shore. In Greece, the ruined pieces of the broken kayakis that the, EU made the fishermen smash under the rules were tragic. That was heartbreaking. A lovely artist named Christos Krimeas collected these pieces of wood and made beautiful, beautiful pieces out of the broken fishing boats. You should look him up. He's just very inspiring about the found art and repurposing and the message behind this so-called garbage. It's cool.